Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. We got some breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders have waived Marcus Peters and Roderic Teamer Jr. So coming up here on today's show, I'm going to give you the latest news around the silver and black, why the Raiders decided to move on from Marcus Peters, what happened yesterday, plus the conversation that Antonio Pierce and Peters had today. On top of that, why the Raiders decided to move on from Roderic Teamer and which players on this current roster I'm going to be looking at, and I'm going to say, now's your time to shine. The nation needs you. The nation deserves better. It's time now for those players to step up. I'll give you some names here in just a second, but this is exactly why you subscribe. I know that Raiders-Chiefs yesterday was a little bit of a frustrating game because of how well the Raiders started and how bad the game ended, but you know what? We built an amazing family here on this show, and I'm going to continue to make videos every single day, put out the content, because to me, there is no days off amongst the nation. If you're going to have commitment to excellence, if you're going to be a fan base that prides itself the way that the nation does, that's what this thing is all about. Continually to grow this Raiders family, because the reason why Marcus Peters was released is because he stopped repping that shield with pride. So we're 81 away from 156,000 subs. If you watch this show and you're like, you know what? I'm a Raider for life. Hit that subscribe button. So let's get in now to the latest here around Peters. And there were rumors that started circulating late last night from the Athletics' Vic Tafur that the Silver and Black were thinking about moving on from their veteran corner in Peters. This morning, I woke up bright and early, took Chuck for a walk, and I got a ping on my phone that said, oh, wait a minute, the Raiders are potentially going to be releasing Marcus. So then what did I do? Made a video bright and early this morning about it, and now today it is officially official. Antonio Pierce spoke to the media today and said that, you know, they had a good conversation in terms of what was going to happen. Peters seemed to be okay with it. But yesterday, you know, Pierce and Peters had a little bit of a, we'll call it an argument, a misunderstanding on the sidelines where Peters didn't give the effort that he was supposed to give. Antonio Pierce point blank called him out on it. Peters didn't like the fact that Antonio Pierce was calling him out on it. So then Peters was like, all right, I'm going to pout. Pierce then said, well, why don't you sit your ass right here on the bench and we're going to let other people go out there and play? Because he was benched for the second quarter. He was benched for the entirety of the game then after the first half, and he just sat there with his beanie on and he pouted. But here was the report that came in from Vic Tafur on Peters, and this was earlier, I guess technically like late in the AM hours after the Raiders game. Pierce benched cornerback Marcus Peters midway through the second quarter after the latest ole on a tackle attempt by the veteran. The two had a brief exchange on the sideline at halftime before Pierce walked away, and Peters watched the second half by himself wearing a beanie. One of the things that drives me up a freaking wall is when a player, especially a veteran, especially a player that the nation was just overly excited for when they brought him in, because Marcus Peters is a Raider, right? Well, to me, a Raider is not somebody that's going to sit there and act like a baby back, you-know-what, crying on the sidelines when, I'm sorry, if your effort's not there, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your name is. If your effort is not going to be on display when you're making millions of dollars, yeah, that's going to hit me in the wrong spot. And I think Antonio Pierce had set him off, too, because he's like, man, if I'm trying to preach that this is going to be a team ran by players, going to be a team that goes out there and they're going to play their asses off every single time, and yet Marcus Peters is making business decisions. I mean, like, let's keep it real here. There's a joke going on amongst the nation that Peters is the worst tackler out there. Hell, there's a video right now of some kid in high school totally failing to make a tackle, and the amount of Marcus Peters school of tackling shit that's out there. We knew this was not a surprise. But the fact that Peters stopped caring and the fact that Peters stopped trying, that's why he was released by the Las Vegas Raiders. And here I also thought this was kind of interesting because Tafur mentions this, and it was reported by multiple people, multiple Raiders beat writers. Peters was almost cut earlier this season, according to team and league sources, and is not expected back when the team returns from its bye. Well, now we know that for a fact he's not going to be returning with the team, but this has been a topic of discussion for multiple weeks, and I almost wonder if I could put my finger right on it, because you look at the last 3 weeks, the amount of business decisions that Marcus Peters was making, it was tough, man. It's frustrating because the nation wanted Marcus Peters to work. Because if you can't get somebody who's Oakland-born, whose family is a bunch of Raider fans, if that guy, when he puts on that jersey, isn't motivated enough to give 110%, I think that's honestly why I'm the most disappointed in Marcus Peters and his actions over the past few games. So here's my question to you, because right now the Raiders cornerback room is it's a little scarce. Like let's keep it a buck here, right? Like it's not where you want it to be. Peters was signed to be not just the number 2 corner. He was basically signed to be the number 1 outside corner. The Raiders are 5-7. You're entering the bye. Should the Raiders have cut him? Yes or no? I want to know from everybody who tunes in. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So you're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and give me your answer. My answer is yes. If Marcus Peters is 100% healthy, my answer to this is yes. If you're not going to give effort, I don't want you out on the football field. And I do believe that's one of the biggest reasons why this ended up going down. And I'm watching this live video right now, and it is a unanimous yeses across the board. Hell, we got 800 people right now spamming yes. I see Hanzo, Michael, Nebraska, Senior Steve. My opinion was this. If Marcus Peters is 100% healthy, then yes, because his effort is so disgraceful. He doesn't deserve to wear a Raiders jersey. Antonio Pierce won't take half-hearted effort, and neither should Raider Nation because we deserve better. So that was the first player that was released by the Silver and Black here on Monday after the Raiders' 31-17 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'll tell you which players that I'm really going to be looking at for the Silver and Black to step up here, some of the players on the depth chart, after I tell you a little bit about our awesome sponsor here, Prize Picks. And anybody out there that's like, you know what, Mitch, why should I do Prize Picks? My honest answer is it's a hell of a time. Like, you could sit down, you can watch any game. The perfect example is tonight, Monday Night Football. Raiders aren't playing. If you were to put down $10, $20 on this game tonight, because Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy, where all you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a $100 deposit match. But let's just say you want to put down $10, maybe $20. For me, example, my picks for tonight's game. I put down $20, and if all 3 of these hit, I can win $100. And guess what? I like money, and the best thing that I can always tell people is, imagine in today's day and age where I told you for the 3 hours, all it's going to take is for you to put down $20, and you're going to be locked in and entertained. $20 for 3 hours. That's a great deal with a chance to win 100. What do you got for me?
And Mitch, today's the day to do it because they have a Cyber Monday deal going on today. So if you want to get even more money, usually you can 25 extra money. Today for Monday Night Football for Cyber Monday, you can 30x your money with Prize Picks.
That's
so today's
insane.
the day to do it.
Dude, I mean, Justin Fields, give me the more on 1.5 touchdowns. DJ Moore, 5 receptions. Jordan Addison, 4 receptions. And I'm probably going to put in multiple picks because, as Jeremy said, they're doing a Cyber Monday deal. So if you want to get started, today might be the best day of the year to do it. It's easy and exciting daily fantasy. Again, that link's going to be available to you guys down in the comments and down in the description. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring the Raiders Report. All right, with the Silver and Black moving on from Marcus Peters, let's look at that cornerback room because somebody's got to step up. And a lot of eyes, to me personally, are going to be on Nate Hobbs because when you look at the numbers by Nate Hobbs over the past 2 weeks, Hobbs has really struggled. He's been targeted 19 times, and he's given up 18 receptions. Like, Hobbs needs to get his shit together over the past 2 weeks because he has struggled. But the reason why you move on from Marcus Peters, in my personal opinion, is because there's a part that might want to put him as an outside corner. What I get worried about is, do you just keep him in the slot? Because we have already seen Nate Hobbs on the inside is a much better corner than when they put him on the outside. When they put him on the outside, he's a different dude. And if you're not confident in your ability, maybe it's smart to put him in the slot. However, though, if Nate Hobbs can get it, like I said, together, maybe you put him as an outside corner. Then you leave Amik Robertson also as an outside corner because he might be your best outside guy on the team right now. There's no doubt. I shouldn't say there's no doubt about it. He might be the best outside corner you have on your team. And shout out to Amik Robertson for saying what he did where, I don't know if you guys didn't see it, he said that he thought that the Raiders were the more talented team, and they might be the more talented team from top to bottom. The biggest difference in yesterday's game was Patrick Mahomes. Like, one team had Patrick Mahomes, the other team didn't. And when Mahomes got hot, they couldn't do anything about it, despite, I think the coaching staff did an okay job because they were trying to get players in the right spots. Just the underneath routes were just, Mahomes got hot, man. I don't really know what else to say besides that. To me, though, there are certain corners on this team that they need to step up. The guy that might get the biggest opportunity is going to be Jack Jones. I mean, the Raiders signed him. I guess I should say claimed him. Last week, he's got a great relationship with Antonio Pierce. Has known him since he was 13 years old. Played with him in high school. Played with him at Arizona State. Now he gets another opportunity here. The biggest person that benefits from Marcus Peters getting moved on from is Jack Jones. Another player that needs to step up is Jacorian Bennett. And at the Monday press conference, Antonio Pierce had nothing but actually very nice things to say about Bennett, calling him a sponge, saying that he's continually trying to learn the position. And as a rookie, you're going to experience those ups and downs. Unfortunately for Bennett, he's experienced a little bit more of the downside of the roller coaster ride. I'm hoping, though, with a little bit of proper coaching, a little bit of proper motivation, Jacorian can achieve it. Here's where it's going to get interesting, though, because Tyler Hall's not getting nearly enough respect that he deserves. Hall's been playing pretty damn well. He goes out there and he competes. And I want a guy that goes out there and competes on a daily freaking basis. And what the Raiders could potentially do is they could put Tyler Hall in at the slot. You leave Amik Robertson as your outside corner, and then you roll with Nate Hobbs as an outside corner. That's option B. What I think option A is going to end up being is Jack Jones as an outside corner, Amik Robertson as an outside guy, and then keeping Nate Hobbs in the slot. It's going to be interesting, though. One of the other players that I'm just kind of waiting on is Brandon Faison. Like, is he on the team? Somebody asked me this the other day, and I take a lot of pride in knowing this team inside and out. I have no idea what's going on with Brandon Faison. He got hurt in August. He's been on the IR, and he's just been on the IR, and I feel like nobody's asking about him. He was signed to this team to be an outside corner. Well, if he's healthy, now's your time to get out there on the field. If Brandon Faison still at this point can't get on the field, I don't know what we're doing. Thanks, McDaniels. Thank you, Dave Ziegler. Other players, though, to keep an eye on are practice squad corners. Sam Webb, I'm looking at him because, to me, he's your best practice squad corner, in my opinion. Troy Pride Jr. and Cornell Armstrong. When your team decides to move on from your number one corner because the effort that he's been putting on the field is shit and honestly can be considered a cancer in that locker room, it's going to be an all-out party of it's time for people to step up. You know, we always hear the term running back by committee. Hell, the Raiders might find themselves in a cornerback by committee. So here's my next question after seeing some of those players. Which player needs to step up the most? Like, which dude out of all those corners are you like, Mitch, this is the guy that needs to be able to take it to that next level? Who's the player that says, you know what, I need to step up the most? I'm going to be looking at what you guys have to say down below. Now, what I want to do here is this. I want to talk about Roderic Teamer a little bit because it wasn't only Marcus Peters who was released. Roderic Teamer also was released today, Monday. And for those of you that don't know, I made a short right before the Raiders game against the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday. And for those that don't know, Teamer was arrested Sunday morning with a DUI. He was caught speeding, and that's what then led to the DUI. And it's frustrating because he was just activated off the IR. He's played in only 6 games this season. He's not a great player. He's a special teams guy. He's a depth player in that secondary. But Teamer, though he was released from custody Sunday morning, it's sad because you're throwing away a great opportunity. And I'm going to be honest with you, Roderic Teamer, I'm happy they're cutting him because dude doesn't deserve to wear a Raiders jersey. This is what the Raiders had to say yesterday on the incident. The Raiders are aware of an incident involving Roderic Teamer last night. The club is in the process of gathering more information and will have no further comment at this time. This was a statement that was released on Sunday. The statement that's been released today is that, yeah, they're cutting his ass because he deserves to be cut. Because to me, how on earth, and this is just a God-honest question because, you know, I literally feel like my dad here looking at me goes, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. I am mad, and I am disappointed. Why is Roderic Teamer getting drunk the night before the biggest game of the season against the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, the Raiders need a zero-tolerance policy for guys that are going to get DUIs after the Henry Ruggs incident. Like, how do you make millions of dollars and not call an Uber or Lyft? There's no excuses. How do you make the honest decision knowing what this team went through? Not only what this team went through, what Tina Tinter's family went through with the whole Henry Ruggs situation, and yet you're still going to make the decision as an adult to hop in your car and drive. Sure, you might not have been drunk, but you were still over the legal limit. And to me, I just have no excuse for that. Get an Uber, get a Lyft. Time to grow up. And I'm glad that the Raiders decided to make these 2 moves today because if you have a cancer in the locker room and Marcus Peters who's not going to show effort, and then you got another guy out there in Roderic Teamer that obviously is incapable of making grown decisions, you don't want those 2 guys on your team. So the Raiders today did two very good things, because if you're going to have commitment to excellence, if you're going to pride yourself on being able to build a good locker room and not only build a team with good players, but good men as leaders that can lead on and off the field, these were two moves that simply needed to be had. So other players now that need to be able to step up here and keep it going, because Teamer, again, not that big of a name. Obviously, you're going to be leaning very, very heavily on Marcus Epps and very, very heavily on Trevon Merrick. But to me, Isaiah Palomeo, you're going to have to be looking at him. He's going to get some opportunities here to go out there and play a little bit. And then also your rookie, and Christopher Smith. I don't know what to expect from any of the rookies, because they're all McDaniels and Ziegler guys, and they have not played very solid football. Maybe the Raiders decide to look at their practice squad, and Jaden Grant, personally for me, that's a hard pass, because he is on the practice squad for a reason. But ultimately, with the thing that happened to Roderic Teamer, it's going to hurt the Raiders more from a special team standpoint than it will from a safety standpoint, because of how good Epps and Merrick have both been this season. And maybe a few times with rotation, you're going to have to get some new names in there, like an Isaiah Palomeo, maybe like a Chris Smith. Or if you're the Raiders, do you just roll with the extra corners out there, right? Like Tyler Hall has some safety experience. Like, do you decide to put Nate Hobbs as a potential safety if you need him in a spot? The Raiders have some different things that they can do. I'm curious to see what Patrick Graham has in store. I will say this, though, with Marcus Peters and Roderic Teamer both getting cut today, the Raiders' bye week could not have come at a better time. Here's my next question, though. Do the Raiders need to sign a safety, type S for sign, type P for pass? And just to be real with y'all, depending on how you answer this question is going to determine what type of videos I make, because usually when a player gets cut, just being real with y'all, Marcus Peters replacements. And for those of you that are watching this live, you're going to get some Marcus Peters free agent replacements. However, I don't know if I should do a Roderic Teamer replacements video. Do we need another safety? If you want one, guess what? I got the hookup. I'll be making a video, maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow when we go live here on the Raiders Report. Obviously, if any other Raiders news or rumors happen, I always do my best to keep you guys up to date. Hell, we got over 1,000 people that are watching this live, and I guarantee you not all 1,000 people are following me on Twitter. Follow me on IG. If you're like, Mitch, I like what you do on YouTube, guess what? I'll put out even more content on Instagram, put out even more content on Twitter, because my job here is, it's Mitchell Renz 365 for a reason. So I'm putting in that work 365 days out of the year, because to me, that's what the nation deserves, and that's the only true way that you're going to get that ultimate goal, commitment to excellence.